And he said it was the big government liberals who had abandoned freedom and, in a broader sense, abandoned him. But successful rabble-rousing requires a certain kind of optimism, a belief that sooner or later your compatriots will come to their senses. And part of what makes his radio show so engrossing is its undercurrent of pessimism. Savage never quite seems able to convince himself that the forces of righteousness will prevail. Indeed, he often gives voice to a sneaking suspicion that it doesn't much matter. Sitting on his deck, he cheerfully admitted as much, quote, I watch shows where they're digging up a mummy from 4,000 years ago, bothering a tomb, he said. That person shaved, brushed his teeth with a stick, took a you-know-what, had sex, whatever, and now what? Who knows what his politics were? Across the bay was the Chevron Richmond refinery, half hidden between the hills and the coast. If a terrorist blew it up, it'd be the equivalent of 10 nuclear bombs, he said. I sometimes sit there and think about the fireball. And he goes on. And he makes some statements that are not true. For example, because of his antipathy for liberals and his incendiary style, Savage is sometimes seen as an heir to iconic radio provocateurs of an early era like Father Coughlin, who emerged during the Great Depression as an outspoken critic of both capitalist excess and the communist menace. He later became a more marginal figure railing against Jewish bankers. That's not me, that's Father Coughlin. Although I don't particularly like bankers to begin with. Whether they're Gentiles or Jews doesn't matter to me. All you got to do is look at Goldman Sachs. I really don't know what church or synagogue they go to. To me, they should all be in jail. That I just added, it's not in the article. And Bob Grant, he says, whose caustic broadcast made him a star in the 1970s. But when Savage talks about his chief influences, he is most likely to mention the old-timers he listened to as a kid in New York. Symphony Sid, the beloved jazz DJ, Mel Allen, the old Yankees play-by-play man, Gene Shepard, the pioneering monologuist. Now, you know something? I never listened to Gene Shepard. Everyone compares me to him. I don't remember listening to him. I'm not trying to knock the guy. I mean, I know he's good. I never listened to him. I never listened to talk radio as a kid. My father had found out listening to talk radio, but he died in 1970. I didn't know he listened. He must have listened to Bob at that time. I don't know who he listened to. I didn't listen to talk radio. I thought it was a bunch of old idiots. You're yakking away. What did I want to listen to some old guy grousing about in the studio, sounding like he was on too much, gin or something? What would a young guy listen to talk radio for in my day? I didn't listen to talk radio. I listened to Symphony Sid because he was a jazz DJ. And when I come home from the Palladium, I hear this great voice belting out at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm coming over the Queensboro Bridge, and the Silver Cup sign is blowing smoke in the air, and everyone's got sort of high in the car, and this guy's got the greatest voice in history, a combination of a jazz voice, a combination of booze, a combination of cigarettes, a combination of worldliness. I like the voice. Am I copying him? No. But that's the kind of voice I liked. And I love Mel Allen. Play Mel Allen so they know why I love Mel Allen. It's a high fly ball.
Deep right field. That ball is going. It is gone.
I get chills. See, I got chills up the back of my neck when I hear that. Why? I don't know why. Is it the time of America, the innocence? Was America ever innocent? Is that possible? You think there was an innocent time in any world? In any nation's history? When was America innocent? When? When was it innocent? How can a nation be innocent? Every nation is forged in blood and conquest and stealing land from somebody else. I mean, what do I want to wake you up like a baby from a slumber? Name a nation that wasn't forged in blood and guts and stealing land from the previous inhabitants. Can you name one nation? Please. Tell me the nation. San Francisco, stolen from the Miwoks. Filled with criminals of the lowest order right now. Don't get me started. I didn't want to do politics. Look at Nancy Pelosi, those eyes. Look what Botox does to a woman. My grandmother's age, they just let the eyes droop. Look better to me than what this... Or Barbara Boxer, you see a face on her? Still think she's a girl. Oh, my God. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, this is good. Okay, I'll pick another. He told listeners, you'll have to go one of the other talk shows to get Obama's a Marxist, the McCain is a war hero. Adding with a trace of self-pity, I really don't care about it anymore. What he really did care to talk about more days than not was his new book, Psychological Nudity, Savage Radio Stories. He published it himself, and since last October, he has been selling it online through his website, michaelsavage.com. Psychological Nudity is essentially a series of transcripts of his broadcasts, but this book is more scattershot than its predecessors, more anarchic. There are 75 short chapters full of true or truish stories. One is only 2 paragraphs long, and it is called Savage Liked Art in Grade School and Hubris in Adults. It is by far the best book of his career, partly because it's the least book-like, and partly because it underscores the perverse streak that is among his most appealing qualities. What other political firebrand would self-publish a book of autobiographical anecdotes at the peak of election season? You see what he means by perverse? Don't you get it? See, many of you live in such limited worlds that you say when you see perverse, you think sexuality. But it has a bigger meaning than that. See, there's an education here. That's what I love about it. He writes well. Now that the Obama era has begun, Savage has been stirred to action by a series of outrages. The Department of Homeland Security report on right-wing extremism, the threats to states' rights, the specter of creeping socialism. But some of his best broadcasts have little to do with the news. One day he reminisced about working as a caddy in the Catskills when he was a teenager and offered a brief and rather capricious history of golf. Quote, "It's like a British thing," he said. "People had nothing to do with themselves after they pillaged the colonies." I don't even remember these one-liners, but I'm good.
Don't make a difficult time tougher. If your inheritance is stuck in probate, we can advance you the cash you need in as little as 72 hours. Visit inheritancefunding.com or call 877-YOU-AIR. That's 877-YOU-HEIR.
No one else can say it that clear and that precise. And he has passion, of course.
The Savage Nation. Weekday afternoons 3 to 7. Talk 910. KNEW.
In the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
I don't even want to get excited over any of it. Could you play, instead of that version, could you play the woman who sang it? Who I met in the elevator in the Green Street garage 30 years ago before she became a psychic. That's right, that one. I don't know her name. She did a better job. She did a better version. He wrote it, right? Mm-hmm. All right, another Pied Piper led millions of people off the cliff of insanity. Turn that off, too. How about Pantera? Let's get some hard metal, heavy metal playing here. Haven't done that in a while in Savage Nation. Nothing's moving me. What's wrong with me today? Try Rammstein. Let's see if that does anything for me on the Savage Nation. Since no one cares about communism in America, I'm going to play. That's better. Why does that move me? Loud as man. Comes to heavy metal, I'm a, shall I say, sound queen. Why is that funny? I don't know. I'm struck with this funny. Funny as Patrick Down in his LA costume. About as funny as Jackie Mason pumping iron. I mean, come on. As funny as Ann Coulter playing Martha Washington. Anyone like January Jones in Mad Men? Like Grace Kelly. How does anyone have a name like January Jones? That can't be real. It's like a radio name, January Jones. What's your name? January. Hello? Stunning. But, all right, turn it off already. I'll talk about anything other than politics. I can't take it anymore. And the reason I can't take it is because you've got criminals and gangsters running America, and you actually don't even know it. I mean, it's unbelievable to me. You actually listen to a word they say, and you don't know who they are, what they're doing. It's unbelievable. You don't read it. You didn't read It Can't Happen Here by Sinclair Lewis, so you don't know that there's a gang that has taken over America. I read it to you once before. It went over your heads, under your feet, and your arms. You know, in the T-zone. It hit you in the T-zone, and you let it go right through you. Should I read it again? Nah, I don't think it matters. I think it's over. I think it's all over, basically. I see 20 years from now, everyone playing checkers, houses unplugged from the grid. In other words, Cuba. All 50 states sort of like a Cuba. No economy, houses that are fading, no paint on the houses, no services, spies on every block, answering only to Obama and his SA. And anyone who speaks out is either taken to a prison camp or shot, disappeared. And you wouldn't even care because at that point it'll be too late. No one will be left to say a word. That's where this leads. He's a young man yet, remember that. The old communists that he used to get into power will be gone. And they're rather moderate compared to him. This guy's an extremist, in my opinion. Maybe I should read for you, Sinclair Lewis's It Can't Happen Here, about the nightmarish vision of a future in America where a right-wing party emerges that takes over America. But